here with Music News and Rumors. It's good to be talking to a fellow Jake. How's it going?
Yes, sir. I like that name.
So your fame as an
Going
internet
good.
star precedes you going into this weekend. What do you have to say to people who think you might not be ready for such a high-profile fight?
Tune in and see if I am or not. Find out for yourself. TrillerFightClub.com. Order that pay-per-view because if you're not watching, you're the one missing out. And look, I've dedicated the past 18 months of my life to this, and we've been in serious training camp, sparring world champions. So you're gonna see if I'm ready or not.
I know you're here for the fight, but there's a lot of fanfare going on in Atlanta around the event. Have you seen the musical lineup, and which artists are you most excited to see and maybe even meet this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about this event is that it's more than just a fight. It's entertainment all the way around. And I'm excited for all the performances. I think each and every one of them brings a different genre of music, and it's gonna be incredible. I'm obviously a believer. Been a believer for a while, so excited to see Justin perform. And he's obviously a boxing fan, which is why I think he did this. And so hopefully we get to kick it after.
All right, and now next up is Theo Salon. Theo.
Hey, how's it going, Jake?
Going good, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you for taking the time. So so you've mentioned kind of like, disproving the doubters and the haters and, wanting everybody to tune in and kind of see what you've been working on. And, we've seen comments from people, like KSI saying, oh, do the world a favor and knock Jake Paul out. I'm wondering, one, is all of that kind of like hate fueling you? Is that a motivating factor?
Yeah, for sure. I use it all as gasoline in the gas tank to work harder every single day. And I know that going into this fight, and I know that for the past 3 fights I've had is everyone wants to see Jake Paul lose. And that's why I work so hard every single day and surround myself with the best team and take this so seriously because this fight means everything. Losing is not an option, quite literally. It just isn't an option in my head, and it's not it's not going to happen. And I've put in the work, and that's why I'm confident in my ability and confident that I will come out on top.
Yeah, I feel that. And then are there any like kind of comments or people in particular that you kind of have bookmarked in your mind, like, oh, I can't wait to kind of like show them wrong?
No. I think there's a long list of people that I don't really keep track of it. I'm excited for Dana White to lose $1 million, but other than that, I'm going to prove millions and millions and millions and millions of people wrong. And they have, like you said, motivated me to become the best version of myself over the past couple of years.
All right, next up is Boxing Social.
James here for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. How are you doing, Jake? You all right?
Yes, sir. Chilling, enjoying the moment, man. This is crazy. Headlining a fight and my third fight, and it's massive. I mean, Justin Bieber's performing, and this could be one of the biggest pay-per-view events in history. So just enjoying the moment. Happy to be here.
I've got a couple of questions for you, Jake. This boxing path that you're on right now, there's this expectation from the fans who are watching this for you to eventually fight KSI. It's in the comments, it's in the socials. They'll type for you to fight KSI. Like, have you had any contact with KSI in the lead up to this fight, and do you think he still wants to fight you?
I don't really want to talk about him anymore.
Okay. And with that said, like, as you delve deeper into the fight game, you've been training from the first time you put on the gloves to now. There are levels in the sport. You've got your domestic, international, world-class, elite. What level do you see yourself at now, and what level do you think people see you as?
I see myself as an elite fighter right now, a young prospect with a lot of motivation, a lot of hunger, and I think people see me as a shitty amateur. So there's a sort of a big difference, and there's a big gap in between where I'm actually at and what the general audience will think. But I'm excited again to show my ability on Saturday. against Ben, who is a world-class fighter.
All right, next up is Jeremy Harigis. Jeremy.
Hi, Jake. How you doing?
Good, man. Good.
So you're kind of talking about how people interpret you as a boxer, but the odds actually have you as the favorite right now. Do you think that's a testament that people are seeing and seeing your boxing talent and taking it as legitimate?
Yeah. I mean, someone asked me this yesterday. They were like, how is the guy who's 19-2, an Olympic athlete, a two-time NCAA champion, how is he the proposed underdog? So it is pretty funny that in my third pro fight, I'm coming in as the favorite against this guy who they're calling world class, but then the people want to say, oh, I'm not a fighter. I think people need to sort of make up their minds, but I've been putting in the work, and I think people can see that.
Looking at this from a strategic standpoint, you have several inches on him in height, reach, and weight. How big of a factor is that going to be going into this fight?
I think it'll be massive. You know, Ben's not used to fighting at this weight. And that's another thing that people aren't even talking about. They talk about his cardio being so good, but he's lugging around an extra 25 pounds coming out of retirement. I'm ready to go into deep waters. He's used to fighting guys his same height. Masvidal, you know, I've been training with Masvidal a bit, and it's like I'm towering over Masvidal. That's the type of guys that Ben is used to fighting. And people always say when they meet me, they're like, damn, you're big. You're bigger than I thought, all the time. And so that'll play a huge factor. And he won't be able to get close to me. He won't be able to do all the things that he's planning on doing. He's talking about coming in with defense and pressure. That pressure and him coming forward is going to get him knocked out.
All right, next up is Gabriel Gonzalez. Gabriel.
Hey, Jake, there's been so much with the pre-fight and everything. I'm wondering, in your opinion, what is people's biggest misconception about you?
Everything. How much time do you have? People don't understand me. They don't get me. And I don't think they maybe ever will. I have a tattoo on the back of my neck. Says, I wish I could explain, because I wish I could explain. If I could talk to you guys for hours on hours and become your friend, you would maybe start to understand me, and my inner circle understands me, and the closest people around me understand me. My family understands me, and they get what I'm trying to do, but the world doesn't know who Jake Paul is. And maybe I like it that way.
I think you've done a great job of getting people to tune in, right? You've done that with your performances, but also just the way, you've promoted these fights. What is your biggest advice? Because obviously a lot of these prize fighters want to do the same thing. They want more attention to make more money. What, in your opinion, is the key to it? Is it playing into the heel role? Is it having personality? What is it?
I think just, being yourself. Look, I mean, it's hard to give someone advice on such a intricate subject. I spent 10, 12 years of my life doing social media and marketing and creating content. So it comes second nature to me. I've been doing it since I was 10 years old. So I don't know, just maybe hire a social media team and put some content out, grow your brand. I mean, Ryan Garcia does a great job of it. That's really it. He's the only boxer that does a good job.
All right, next up is Michael Mariam. Michael.
Thank you, Jake. So have you had a chance to take a step back and realize how far you've come in your boxing career so quickly? Just like a couple of years ago, you were just doing daily vlogs and stuff, and now you're fighting in one of the biggest stadiums in America. Have you just had a chance to step back and take it all in?
I honestly haven't. I think, my team helps me reflect on sort of where I've gotten to and how far I've come, but I've just been going nonstop and haven't really had a chance to look back and be like, wow, that's crazy, or this is crazy. I think it's starting to set in a little bit. But it is pretty absurd. I'm in my third pro fight, fighting 8 rounds, headlining, one of the biggest pay-per-views that could happen this decade. You know, if you look at Floyd Mayweather, his third fight was 6 rounds. He got paid $7,000, and I don't think anyone in this room probably watched it.
All right, next up is Damon Martin. Damon.
Hey, Jake. Obviously you've said numerous times how seriously you're taking your boxing career. But obviously this is the first, professional fighter you face. Now, of course, there's going to be people who will say, well, Jake, Ben is a wrestler, not a boxer. But do you believe beating Ben Askren will add some legitimacy to your boxing career, or does that even matter to you?
Well, it doesn't matter to me, but also I think people are going to make tons of excuses for him afterwards, which is great. Just like, again, I bring up Floyd, but Floyd's 50-0, and people still will debate why he shouldn't be 50-0, and the judges and and he shouldn't have won this fight and he shouldn't have won that fight and he picked the easy fight here. So people are always going to have excuses as part of this game. But again, that's why they're going to tune into the next pay-per-view after I watch Ben to see me lose or try to see me lose. It doesn't really matter to me at all. And yes, Ben is the first professional fighter I've faced in a real fight, but I've sparred against 250 guys in the gym who are a lot better than Ben.
In terms of your long-term goals, Jake, what are your long-term goals? Because, I don't think there's anything wrong if you went out there and fought in a million fights against Nate Robinsons and made millions of dollars. I think people forget this is called prize fighting. But what are your long-term goals in this sport?
I want to continue to challenge myself with my opponents and continue to build up my level of competition and to make history with historic events, and break pay-per-view records and fight big names and just have fun, man. Like, this is such a fun sport. This is such a fun time, and these events are so cool, and I want to bring more eyeballs just in general.
Next up with a follow-up is Joe Lee.
Hiya. Just another one from me. I know you mentioned on the True Geordie podcast a couple of days ago about how specifically the UK fans have quite a disliking to you. Do you think you need to beat KSI in order to get more respect, or do you think a win on Saturday night, a lot more people can reason with you because of the hard work and the passion you've shown for the sport of boxing?
I'm not talking about that guy.
Fair enough. Could I ask one more then? What's your road to Conor McGregor? I know I guess he's the ultimate goal for you. How would you map out a road if from now to here to there? How would you get there?
I think we both are on a road to each other. He wants another boxing fight. He wants to fight Manny Pacquiao. He would get toasted. He just keeps on taking L's. So I think him fighting me would not only be his money fight, but it would technically be the easiest challenge, right? I think fighting Jake Paul would probably be easier than fighting Manny Pacquiao, and it would be just as big. And I think we're a lot closer to a Jake Paul Conor McGregor fight than anyone thinks. I think it could happen in the next 24 months.
All right, next up, follow-up is Shaquille Majori.
Hey, Jake, thank you for the time. Just one question for me. Ben Askren was here earlier, obviously speaking to us, and he said that he was carrying the lion's share of the promotion and that you weren't really doing your part. Can you just sort of respond to that? Do you think you've put in at least 50% of the effort for promoting this fight?
So this guy has 21 fights, right? And all of a sudden, this is the biggest payday of his career. And there's a reason for that. Ben Askren had his dick in his hand in Wisconsin, not doing shit. I brought him out of retirement, revived his career. And so I think it's hilarious that he thinks that, he's under these bright lights in front of all of you because of me. I could have picked anybody to be in Ben Askren's position. And everyone that I fight becomes a global superstar for 15 minutes. Then I knock them out and no one ever talks about them again. So, Ben Askren can think what he wants. He's got about 48 hours left until no one talks about him anymore.
Great, thank you, Shaquille. And next up is Theo Salon with a follow.
Hey, Jake. So you mentioned, wanting to challenge yourself, but also have fun. And I know that, you've got your eyes set on guys like Conor McGregor. But, are there any kind of like, more fun kind of influencers that you are interested in fighting moving forward, like guys on Twitch, or even like, TikTok or YouTube streamers, stuff like that?
Yeah, there's a company right now that wants to pay me an absurdly large amount of money to fight an influencer. So I'll gladly go knock out these guys for money. So I've developed a skill now, right? And that skill is fighting. And if someone wants to pay to see my skill and use my name, which is one of the biggest names in combat sports right now, then I'll gladly pick up the bag.
All right, next up is Donna Corby.
Hey, Jake. I want to ask you about last Friday, your final sparring session ahead of this fight. You were in there with Charlie Deca, who's a 3-0 pro, and the great Anthony Pretty Boy Taylor, a famous internet troll, a guy in the MMA community who is divisive. Can you talk to me a bit about your final sparring session with the great Pretty Boy?
Yeah, it was good. Like I said, these guys are all better than Ben. I think he was doing some interviews after the sparring session and was like, it was good and he was better than I expected, and he's fast, and I landed some good shots. No, you didn't. You got your ass beat, my friend. And all respect to you. I know we're not supposed to talk about sparring as boxers, but if you're gonna go out there and say, it was an even sparring match, when we watch back the tape, it's not even close. But of course, he's gonna say that it was decent and all this stuff, and protect himself. Obviously, that footage probably will never come out, and it's he said, she said. But I'm getting better. I'm getting the better of a lot of these MMA guys, and it's funny to just see what they say after the sparring sessions.
Yourself and your brother's relationship, obviously the public are always going to conflate you two. We saw him on The Masked Singer. They thought that he was going to be you. But it seems like he's back in the mainstream after a few years, in the wilderness. And you are paving this path in boxing. Maybe he's going to fight Floyd, maybe not. It seems like your relationship with him is as nicely separate now as it probably has ever been. Is that a fair assessment?
I think we're yin and yang, and I think while we're both individuals at the same time, we're on the same team. So it's this really weird parallel, and I think it's the rise of the Pauls 2.0. I mean, who's doing it?
All right, Donna, thank you very much. Now back to Jake Bennett.
Hey, Jake. So there's going to be millions of people watching online, and it's projected to break some big pay-per-view records. But is it strange for you to be at such a massive venue like Mercedes-Benz Stadium, even though there's going to be an extremely limited crowd?
Yeah, it's weird. I wish there would be a crowd. The fight energy isn't the same. When I knocked out Nate Robinson, the whole arena was silent. Like you could hear a pin drop, and it's weird, but obviously we're making do with it. And hopefully for my next fight, we can have an audience and make it turn.
All right, and now we have Boxing Social.
Hey, Jake, a couple more questions to me. As you delve deeper into the sport, like the risk gets bigger. You're fighting Ben, who has real fight pedigree. I saw one of your videos. You had like a visit to the doctors who talked about like the damage that you've received already. Are you worried about, as you take more risks, the effects you've experienced and what could come?
Yes and no. It's a dangerous sport, and that's why when people question my dedication to it, it's like I'm showing up every single day. I'm putting my my mental health on the line. My brain is on the line. I like you said, I've gone and gotten brain scans and have early signs of CTE, but I love this sport and I wouldn't trade it for anything else. And I'm a fighter, and people will see that, whether it's after Saturday night or whether it's a year from now, that they will see that I'm a fighter.
You talked about dealing with things mentally. You've had to deal with stuff in the lead up, that's including the loss of someone personal to you. Do you carry that into the fight, and are you dedicating your performance to Shadow, who you lost quite recently?
Yeah, no, 100%, man. And it's a shock to all of us in the team, and it's deeply affected us. And it's hard without him. You know, when you're with someone every single day and you live with them, and they're, you know, he was a father figure to me in many ways and had my back 24/7. And yeah, he's gone now, and I've never experienced something like that before. But you know, he would want me to go out there and knock this guy out, and he predicted a first round knockout in 2 minutes and 28 seconds. And so for some reason, I think that's going to happen. And man, yeah, I wish he was here. I wish he was here, but he will be here in spirit. And I think a lot of the emotions will sort of hit me after this fight, because I've been sort of trying to suppress it to stay strong.
Next up is Damon Martin.
Hey, Jake, just a couple follow-ups here. You mentioned you were kind of looking forward to Dana White losing $1 million on this fight. Obviously, you're fighting Ben Askren, a UFC veteran fighter. You want to fight Conor McGregor. Do you have fun kind of getting the animosity with the MMA guys, or is it just like that's just the rivalries you've been building so far? Like, what is it with you in the MMA community that you've been so entrenched in that?
I'm just having fun, you know, and trolling, and I've sort of purposely I've purposely pitted the MMA community against me, so they tune into this fight. Ta-da! It worked.
Is that, we talk about your future fights? You mentioned Conor. I mean, obviously that would be massive. But is Conor the only guy? I mean, I think you mentioned somewhere that if Dustin Poirier beats him, you'd also be interested in that fight.
Yeah, you know, Conor's the big name, right? He's a A-list celebrity, and there's very few fighters who are A-list celebrities. So, you know, we'll see what happens. I hope he wins against Dustin, I guess, so that the fight becomes more exciting.